Do you feel like you might have a priestess archetype? Well, if you do, I'm going to talk about a multidimensional chakra scan that I just did with a client in case it helps you on your journey as well. It's funny because one of her timelines was a phoenix priestess that could shift into more of like a human form but then back into a phoenix. And I went to the metaphysical store after doing her chakra scan and ended up getting a phoenix stone crystal. And so I thought that was very synchronistic. It like called me over to the crystal table and I picked it up and I was like, oh, of course it would be a phoenix crystal. She had been a priestess in many different lifetimes. That was a arcus structure that ran very deep to her core. And so she had multiple priestesses coming up in different timelines. I was going through her chakras, and when I went into her root chakra, what was that just felt? Did y'all see that? Anyway, it was like this little thing that flew down. So when I went into her root chakra, I heard her higher self say, oh, she was an Atlantean priestess in this timeline. And I came up to this temple that I had never seen before, and her higher self was saying, oh, that's the Atlantean priestess temple. And I was like, oh, what is that? And they said it's kind of like the Akashic record hall of the Atlantean priestesses. And so I wanted to share that in case it activates anything with anybody else, like of a remembrance, because that's the first time I had seen it. So I go up to it, and there's a scanner on the door, and I had to put my hand on it, and it was like scanning my system. Okay. And then I walk in, and there's these like beings there, and they're like, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here to look at blank information. And they said, okay. And so they let me in. And then I was talking to their higher self, which was the Atlantean priestess from the other timeline. And she said, hold my hand. And I said, okay. And she like yanked me into this other portal that was inside the temple. And the temple was really beautiful. It was like cathedral almost, not like with a religious context, but it was just very, very big and very bright. There was like crystals lining the walls everywhere. I wasn't in there very long before they sucked me into the other place. But then we go into like this, portal within their sacral chakra, and there was all these like bats flying around, and I was like, okay, spooky vibes, Halloween. And then this being came forward, and it was a embodiment, like a personification of their dark feminine energy. And they were saying that's kind of like the juxtaposition to like the Atlantean priestess. Because, you know, you have your light side, your shadow side, one's not better than the other. There's just mirror reflections of one another in different forms. And they were saying that this person's dark feminine energy had been suppressed for a really long time, and that's a lot of us. It's been repressed because of, you know, societal stuff, the patriarchy, you know, capitalism, like all these things. And, you know, there's so many of us reawakening to that, and it gets a bad rap sometimes because it's kind of like that Kali Ma type of energy of like seen as like destruction, and it's not destruction, and Kali Ma is not evil either. It's breaking down oppressive systems and injustices, and getting female identifying in their empowerment, so that we can really be in our creative energy and our passion, and just step into our creatrix and activate that within ourselves. Okay, that's world creation. One of the things the higher self was saying is that we need to become a master of our thoughts, because thoughts take so much energy, and when we're just hustle all the time, especially because we're a lot of self-aware beings, and so we're like over-analyzing all the time, because we want to like be the best versions of ourselves, but sometimes those thoughts are rooted in anxiety and fear and chaos, and so we have to learn how to become the observer, because in order to download these templates and for you to step onto the healer path, like the priestess is one type of healer path, or like the shamanic path, or the Akasha path, right? Lots of different paths. But in order to step onto that, you have to learn how to calm your mind, because those downloads are such high frequency, and obsessive thoughts, catastrophizing, you know, anxiety and all those things, and over analyzing, those are very heavy, and the energetics don't sit right with one another. And so we have to learn how to like get those out and observe them. And one of the ways that I would say you can do that is to question them. Why are you here? Why are you telling me this? Why are you showing me this? Am I in alignment with that? Because then you start to kind of detach from them, and you see that you are not your thoughts, and that we can simply pass them by. And that's where you really start to level up in consciousness and understandings, and able to channel higher esoteric knowledge if you can get those human 3D thoughts to settle down the bees. I went to their heart chakra and I saw this giant clock, and there's just like a lot of cool imagery in there, but I was explaining that they were a timeline keeper, and to order it to understand that a little bit better, Loki, the TV show on Disney Plus, does a really good job in she was not like a timekeeper in that, because, you know, no spoilers or anything, but just not the same. But sometimes these movies and TV shows have certain energetic encodements within them, like The Matrix, or like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or, you know, lots of different things. If you watch them, it can help you have remembrances and downloads of self from your own Akasha field, because those things are connected to the bigger Akasha field to download into the collective to help us have the remembrances. So it can almost like trigger something like in your soul contract to open up. So I was explaining to her, like, watch that TV show if you want to, and it will help you remember that you were helping keep certain timelines on the right path, not just in this incarnation, but other incarnations, almost like working with the time master, if anybody knows who that being is, but but helping timelines stay on the right path. And then they had a giraffe come up in one of their chakras, and I was explaining that in shamanism, giraffes are representative of channelers of divine wisdom, and they're also seers, because they can see in the savanna plain before the other animals, and so they're often projectors in the collective. They can see things before they happen, and so they impart wisdom and knowledge to get people like prepped and prepared, which kind of goes back to the time master thing. But I was explaining on the opposite side of that, they can be like the shadow side is having your head too in the clouds, and that's not having clear mind, and so you're not able to translate those things down into the collective. And so that's why we're needing to focus on our thoughts, or maybe stop focusing on our thoughts. And it's also saying that this person is good at whatever they do. And that's a lot of us. Like, we just learn how to be the expert in something, and then all of a sudden we get bored with it and we're on to the next. But then we still have like this imposter syndrome and saying like, oh, I'm not good at anything. I'm good at everything and good at nothing. Let me know if you feel that way in the comments. And it's because you haven't stepped onto your healer's path yet. It's because it's like, okay, well, so what? So what? I'm good at everything. Like, none of this stuff matters. Okay. All this 3D hologram human stuff, like, whatever. And it's because you haven't stepped into your soul mission fully yet. Like, that hasn't clinked all the way in. And then I went up to another chakra, their third eye chakra, and there was a Native American woman, which was a different timeline of them, which kind of like a cousin to a priestess, but more shamanic. And she was saying like she still has things to heal on her human incarnation, which I talk about that a lot with empaths and light workers that want to become, you know, full-time energy healers and things. I'm like, you've lived through a lot of PTSD and trauma in this incarnation, and you have to heal that stuff in your human first, because that's heavy and dense, and that's your trial by fire. That's how you're going to get onto the healer's path, is by transmuting those things within self, so that you can find those frequencies within others and help guide them. But you have to heal what's going on in this incarnation to be able to get to that level. And then lastly, all her priestesses came forward and were like, hey, just to give her a heads up. Like, it is not always rainbows and unicorns being on the healer's path in whatever modality you choose, because when you really crack open your creatrix within yourself, that is some very deep soul healing that you start to do, soul fragment healing, and anything that's not in alignment is got to go. Everything in your life will be stripped, and that sounds really scary and intense, but we all know what those tower moments are. But you have to take off all the facadal lenses, all the projections, the trauma, the PTSD, the catastrophizing thoughts, perceptions of self, like all that stuff has to leave your energetic system, and it can be a very intensive purging process. But they were saying like on the other side, you'll be reborn into peace and prosperity and all these amazing magical things happening for you. But you got to step into the warrior within yourself to be able to blaze that trail. And if you would like a multidimensional chakra scan so you can understand yourself on a deeper level, you can go to my profile and click, or check the description box below or the comments, and I hope you have a super magical day.